Hola, mi amigos. Tonight, AEW made history because for the first time ever, we had an American promotion taping television live at the Cathedral of Lucha Libre. I think they mentioned that a few times on the show tonight. Arena Mexico. So AEW becomes the first promotion here in this country to do that. And it was a very celebratory occasion. In fact, I must show you this here. This right here was quite the meeting that took place backstage earlier today at Arena Mexico. Tony Khan even got to meet his hero, Kimolito. How he wasn't used on this show tonight, I'll never know. It certainly would have made the show that much more entertaining if they would have found a role for this little guy here on the show. But no, we did not see him tonight. But we had Grand Slam Mexico. First time that AEW has been south of the border. They treated this like a pay-per-view. And what I mean by that is not that any of the matches jumped out as being, any better than the best pay-per-view matches we've had this year from AEW. We've had quite a few of them. It's not what I mean. They treated it like a pay-per-view in that there was not a single backstage segment on the entire show. It was straight wrestling right down the line. No backstage segments, no backstage promos. The only promo we had all night was the opening segment in the ring with Hangman Page, who did the entire thing in Spanish. But the main event, we had a 10-man tag team match that ended with Jon Moxley winning it for his team with a roll-up. And in another match, we had MJF getting disqualified against Mistico by kicking him in the dick. It was one of those nights. He did his best John Cena in the ring with Mistico tonight. So two of the key matches on the show, that's how they ended. But hey, on the flip side, Mercedes got herself another belt because she didn't have enough of those. So now she has another one. And I don't know how she's going to be able to transport these championships. She's going to have a wheelbarrow behind her as she goes through the airport in order to travel with these things. It was so ridiculous that when the match was over, and I think it was Aubrey Edwards was in the ring and getting her all strapped up with all of her titles to pose for the crowd. She actually dropped one. She couldn't even hold them all. She dropped one of her belts. I don't even know how many she has at this point. It's got to be at least 5. 5 or 6. Soon it'll be 7 when they go to Texas next month, but we're not there yet. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Yes, Mercedes Mone for the first time is the CMLL Women's World Champion. She adds another title to her collection. And you know who else was in the main event tonight? I didn't even mention this, but in the main event tonight, I believe this would have been his first Dynamite main event. The Beast Mortos. Yes. Now, those rare occasions where we get to see the Beast Mortos on TV, usually it's not on Dynamite, right? Typically it's Collision. Sometimes it's Dynamite, never in the main event. Not only was he in the main event tonight, but he was on the winning team. In a week where it was revealed that he is actually in a relationship with Mercedes. How about that? The Beast is riding high all of a sudden. The Beast Mortos. We'll talk more about the Beast Mortos a little bit later on, but the timing on that is just unbelievable. Unbelievable. Now he finds himself in a position to actually win matches on this show. What was the last time that happened? He hasn't exactly won a whole lot of matches on Dynamite in the past. So we had the Beast Mortos as part of that main event. You know what else we had on this show? We had, if you thought that a 10-man tag wasn't enough, we had a 14-man tag team match. We also had a 4-way match to determine who would walk away with 4 million pesos. Yeah. All right. So yeah, we have to talk about that as well. Look, I had fun with parts of the show. That Mistico entrance was probably the best thing on the entire show. So I had fun with parts of the show. On the whole, it was an above average show. And the reason that it was an above average show, one reason, Arena Mexico. That's it. That's it. And I will give my highest praise to Arena Mexico because Arena Mexico was great. Arena Mexico really is one of the legendary wrestling venues in the world. the entire world. And to do television there and be in front of a packed house, it looked packed. The crowd was hot all night long. They were into, most everything on the show. It made for a really fun atmosphere. And what it reminded me of is some of those shows that we got when WWE was on its European tour earlier this year. Some of those Monday Night Raw episodes were just fucking trash. I mean, nothing really happened. This is on the road to WrestleMania I'm talking about. Some of them were better than others, but some of them were just trash where it's like, man, I just felt like I wasted 2.5 hours of my life, but it was all about the atmosphere. If there was anything fun about some of those shows, it was the atmosphere, some of the places they went and how lively the crowds were helped make the show fun or somewhat fun. That's kind of what this reminded me of. Because you take away the Arena Mexico element and the hot crowd that they had, and you're not left with a whole hell of a lot that you wouldn't ordinarily get out of an episode of Dynamite. So you had a whole bunch of people on the show because they tried to fit as many of them in as they possibly could. But this was really all about Arena Mexico. And it did make for a very fun atmosphere. I love the look of it. Visually, I thought the show came off great. Hopefully they'll go back there again at some point. I mean, there's certain venues in other parts of the world as well, like in Japan, where I would love to see them do something like this, if at all possible. But right now they have the working relationship with CMLL, so it kind of makes sense for them to do a show like this. But beyond that, again, an above average show. And we will get into the key things that happen. We'll get into everything on this show, key and otherwise. This is your AEW Grand Slam Mexico 2025 review. It is Wednesday, June 18th. I am the Solomonster. Thank you for being with me here tonight. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button on this video as well, because that helps out a lot. Super chats are open. You will see them popping up on your screen as we go along here, and I will be reading all of your messages a little bit later on here in the stream. I also want to give a quick shout out here, as I did the other night. Our good friend Steve Mello, who has been a very important part of the channel here for quite some time. Good friend. Wanted to share something with all of you. I mentioned a while back his oldest son was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes a few years ago. Since then, his other son was also diagnosed with type 1. This Sunday, the family is taking part in what is called the Breakthrough T1D walk in Canada, trying to help fight the good fight, trying to find a cure for type 1 diabetes. And so the brothers Mello here have formed a team called the Bionic Bros. And if you would like to support, you can donate. There is a QR code on screen that you could scan right now, or you can visit tinyurl.com/Bionic Bros. So go check it out. It's for a good cause. And shout out to Steve. I don't know if he's here with us live just yet, but if not, he may be a little bit later. But go ahead and check that out. That would be great. Let's talk about this Arena Mexico show tonight. The broadcast team was Excalibur, Nigel McGuinness, and Tony Schiavone. No Taz. So Taz did not make the trip south of the border. I saw, during the show tonight, I saw Dave Meltzer. He was responding. I didn't see who he was responding to. But somebody had tweeted him and mentioned that Tony Schiavone has got to be the only announcer in history to have worked Madison Square Garden, the Tokyo Dome, and Arena Mexico. And I was trying to think who else would fit that criteria. I was thinking maybe Jim Ross. Jim Ross never worked Arena Mexico. So I'm pretty sure that's accurate. And I believe Tony Schiavone made history tonight by becoming the first and likely only announcer in wrestling history to work shows from MSG, Tokyo Dome, and Arena Mexico. Three of the most popular, historic, legendary wrestling venues in the world of all time. And this is a man who was completely divorced from the wrestling business after WCW went out, for all but, I think, one brief appearance he made one night in TNA in the early days. When WCW went under, Tony Schiavone was done with wrestling. And he didn't really re-enter the wrestling world until, God, I want to say maybe 2016 or 2018, sometime around then. He was doing work for MLW. And then when AEW started, he joined AEW, and he's been with them ever since. So he's had the opportunity now to work a whole bunch of other venues, including Wembley, right? Wembley Stadium, and Australia for Grand Slam earlier this year. So a little bit of trivia there for you. I think he's in the top spot right now. I can't think of anybody else who's worked all three of those venues. Ricky says Mike Tenay. Actually, he said Mike Today. I believe he means Mike Tenay, and I don't know if that's accurate. When would Mike Today have worked Madison Square Garden? Mike Tenay never worked Madison Square Garden. Mike Tenay was actually asked to work Worlds Collide for WWE last weekend. And apparently they couldn't reach a deal on the amount of money that he would be paid. So you don't pay me enough, I'm not leaving my house. See, I work the same way. Anyway, it was Hangman Adam Page coming out to the ring to open the show. And he proceeded to cut his entire promo in the ring in Spanish. And I had no idea, because he was very impressive here. Now, of course, I say he was very impressive as if I could translate everything he said. There may be some fluent Spanish speakers in the chat who say, well, you know, he did good. He didn't do great, but he did good. But it sounded like the fans, you know, they obviously understood what he was saying. They popped for some of his lines. He did this entire thing in Spanish. I didn't know he was that fluent. You know, he may not be the most fluent, but he was fluent enough to do the entire thing in Spanish. And so that was impressive. And as he was speaking, Excalibur on commentary, every time he would say something and take a breath, he was trying to translate what he was saying on commentary, like he was Chris Charlton on a New Japan show. After a while, he kind of stopped. We were getting like bits and pieces from Excalibur. But he introduced himself. He apologized for his poor Spanish. He talked about his family a little bit and their relationship with Mexico. He said AEW and CMLL have the best professional wrestling in the world. And then he addressed Jon Moxley. And he said that he's not wrestling tonight. Everybody booed. And then he said that he's not allowed to touch Moxley during his match, but nobody said anything about after the match. So letting us know very early that he was going to be showing up when that match was over. He did work in a chinga tu madre. He did work that into the promo here. And that popped the crowd big. And I do know what that means. And it's not very nice. But that's about as much as I could say about this. Look, he was over with the crowd. They even chanted cowboy shit at one point. And I'm sure they appreciated him doing the entire promo in Spanish. I'm sure most of them had no idea that he could even do that. But I'll tell you what, little tip for everybody watching or listening, depending on where you're getting this from. If you are an aspiring professional wrestler right now, a word of advice, and I'm sure other people maybe have said this to you, but if not, do yourself a favor, learn the language. Learn the language. If you are not fluent in Spanish, I don't care what you do. Go sign up for Duolingo on your phone. Go pay for Rosetta Stone if that's all you have time for. Take a class, whatever it may be. Just take the time to learn it because it's going to make you that much more valuable. Especially when it comes to doing media. You ever make it big and you want to do media or they want you to do media, it's going to help. It's going to help you out to know Spanish. It's going to help you out to know as many languages as possible. But there probably aren't that many people who are going to dedicate the time while they're training to be a professional wrestler to learn 3 or 4 different languages. Not everybody could be Claudio, who knows like 5 different languages. But if you don't know Spanish, that's a good one to try to pick up. And then, I shit you not, we had a 14-man tag team match on a show where we already had announced a 10-man tag team main event. We had a 14-man match here. FTR was supposed to be in this match. We got one half of FTR. We got F and a partial T. We didn't get the full FTR. We got Dax Harwood. And he came out with Stokely Hathaway. And all he said was that Cash Wheeler was not there tonight for reasons out of his control. And then he moved on. That was as much as we were told. Now, my first thought was maybe it had to do with his past legal issues in the state of Florida. But just recently, like within the last month, there was a report that the entire case against him, or whatever may have still been lingering from that case, that was on the gun charge, was all expunged from his record. He's got a totally clean record now. It's as if it never even happened. So I don't know that necessarily had anything to do with him not being on the show tonight, because I'm sure that's the first thing a lot of people are going to be thinking about. That may not be the case. But whatever the reason was, he was not there tonight. So we had Volador Jr. taking his place. So on the heel side, it was Dax Harwood, Volador Jr., Kyle Fletcher, Konosuke Takeshita, Josh Alexander, Hechicero, and Lance Archer. They took on Bandito, Atlantis Jr., Templario, Brody King, Daniel Garcia, and the TNT champion, Adam Cole. The most entertaining part of this entire match, for me, had nothing to do with really any of the actual action that we saw in the match itself. And there was a lot of it. There was a lot of action here. It was very chaotic. But the most hilarious part of this match was every time Atlantis Jr. got into the ring, he was booed mercilessly by this crowd. And not only was he booed, his father was booed. Atlantis Sr. was booed. And I'm not sure why he was booed, unless he was just booed kind of by proxy to his son being booed. I don't know. But as far as Atlantis Jr. is concerned, here's my understanding of it. Okay, and if I'm off here, somebody will let me know. But my understanding of this is that he's basically seen as like the Nepo baby thing. He got pushed too hard, too fast, too soon in a spot that a lot of people feel as though he was not prepared for, or maybe he didn't deserve. And that's at least part of why some of the fans, if not a lot of the fans, are very resentful of him. And maybe they just don't think that, frankly, he's that good to be in the spot that he was pushed in. But I think that has a lot to do with the reaction that he got here. Again, if there's another reason or I'm way off, I'm happy to be schooled by somebody who is more in tune with what's going on right now with CMLL than I admit I am. And so by all means, feel free to let me know. But he's on the babyface team. And every time this kid tagged in, he just got booed. And then his dad got booed. And I'm just sitting here laughing. So I'm not going to bother recapping everything that happened here because, like I said, it was pure chaos. Fucking 14 guys out there, and it's a lucha tag match. So tags aren't even necessary. Some guys are tagging in. A lot of guys are not. So they're just kind of coming in and out of the ring at will. And it can be hard to keep track of it can be hard to keep track of what's going on in a regular AEW multi-man match. So this was with 14 people out there. Yeah, this was a bit much, but we had Takeshita and Bandito. They kicked things off. Atlantis Jr. entered the first time, and again, he got booed. Brody King landed a Death Valley driver on the apron on Josh Alexander. Adam Cole dropped Lance Archer with the boom. Fletcher then laid out Cole with a Snapdragon, after which Atlantis shot a double leg. Fletcher ran into a series of super kicks and a big boot, sent him outside. And we went into commercial here with the baby faces on top. So after the commercial break here, Garcia made a hot tag to Bandito. He ran wild on Alexander. He had a press slam. Alexander, though, met him in the ropes with an avalanche belly-to-belly for a 2 count. Takeshita went up top. Bandito avoided a doomsday device. Templario was in to save his partner. And we got stereo Spanish flies off the top rope. Templario, though, my goodness. Oh, my God. Templario comes off the top rope with the Spanish fly. And it looked like he landed on his own fucking head on the landing. And that's to say nothing of Josh Alexander's landing that looked rough too. But Templario, it looked to me like there was a split second where I kind of panicked watching this because it looked like he was not going to get the full rotation. He got enough of it, but again, it looked like he landed right on his head. We got a spot where Atlantis Jr. walked up. There was a short ramp to the ring. Again, I love the look of the show. So, I mean, if you've ever seen photos or video of any shows, like any CMLL show from Arena, Mexico, you kind of have a sense of what it looks like. There's like a short ramp to the ring. They have stairs. They have screens on either side once you come down those stairs. So I love the aesthetic of it. I love the look of it. So you got that short ramp. And so there was a spot where Atlantis Jr., he leaves the ring and he walks down this short ramp to the stage. And then he turns around and he charges back down to the ring. He clears the top rope and hits a double crossbody on two of the heels. And he got booed. Total babyface spot. He still got booed. Bandito hit a wild moonsault off the top to the floor. King and Archer, they slugged it out with Brody mowing him down, then teasing a dive. Hechicero, though, met him with a crossbody. Dax was cheered as he put the... Now, think about that, right? FTR just went heel recently. Some of the comments they've made, he gets cheered here as he puts the boots to Atlantis Sr., but he took too much time to gloat, and he walked into an inside cradle by Atlantis for the surprise pin. And after the match, Dax, who was a sore loser, he went and attacked Atlantis Sr. from behind, and the good guys ended up chasing him off. So this was a fun little cluster. I mean, nothing little about this match. It was a fun cluster, fun enough for what it was, which was an attempt to get as many people as possible involved in this show, because it was a historic show in a historic venue. And they were just trying, Tony Khan, it was like the WrestleMania thing where you just try to get as many people on the show as you possibly can. This is what they came up with. We'll take people like Konosuke Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher, who should be featured in something a little more fucking focused than this, but we'll just take guys like this, Brody King and this guy and that guy, and we'll just put them all together in a big 14-man tag match where there's just nonstop chaos, and it ends with, the elder of the two Atlantises, getting a roll-up on Dax Harwood. That's how this comes to an end. So this is what they came up with. The crowd was hot for the entire match, though. So it made for a fun atmosphere. Not much else to say about this, though. Now we got a recap. There's Takeshita. There he is. He deserved better than being in a 14-man tag team match tonight. What is this? Somebody tried to fight MJF at the hotel? Is that true? Well, look, when you're someone like MJF, I mean, I could believe that that's true. When you're someone like MJF who's trying to go out there and you're in Mexico and you're dressed up as Mr. America and you're trying to get mega heat, you want to get heat, you're going to get heat. So that wouldn't surprise me if that is actually true. But we got a recap of the end of the show last week. I should say the end of Dynamite. Remember, it was a 4-hour show. So the end of the first 2 hours. We had a contract signing for All in Texas. It is now official. Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada, one-on-one, winner takes all. The winner of that match becomes the brand new AEW Unified Champion. They have a brand new belt. They have a side plate that shows Okada delivering a Rainmaker on one side. They have a side plate on the other side showing Omega doing the One-Winged Angel. Apparently, the plan is for those plates to stay on the belt permanently. Yeah, because these two guys are the ones who were part of its creation. So it's not a case where when a new champion gets crowned, they'll have their own plate. Those plates are meant to forever be on that belt. We'll see how long that lasts. But they signed the contract and everything was hunky-dory until Don Callis came out. And they did a little fake out earlier in the show backstage where the Callis family had surrounded Okada. Okada looked like he had an issue with them. There was some tension there. Callis came out later in the show and revealed that it was all just a ruse. And then Okada attacked Omega and he beat the shit out of him. It led to Kenny Omega bleeding all over the place. Gobs of blood. in what was meant to be a very serious injury angle, turned into a comedy segment. So we did not see Kenny Omega on the show this week. He lost a lot of blood last week. It was clotting as it came out of his mouth. Looked like something out of one of those alien movies. But Okada ended up leaving with Callis. So we come back live here. Don Callis was out for Okada's match. He was in his corner. Actually, technically he was on commentary, but he escorted him to the ring. It was non-title. Kazuchika Okada one-on-one against Mark Briscoe. And it looks like Okada is now part of the Callis family, at least through All In. What happens beyond Texas, we don't know. But at least between now and July 12th, it looks like Okada, who was part of the Elite, but I guess the Elite doesn't really exist anymore, right? Because the Bucks have spent more time as honorary members of the fucking Death Riders than anything else since they came back. Jack Perry has been gone for months. We don't know what the hell happened to him. Okada's just sort of been on his own. So there is no Elite. So right now it looks like he's with the Callis family. So these two, they started slow. We got a little bit of redneck kung fu from Briscoe. He sent Okada to the floor, followed up with a somersault dive out to the floor. Back in the ring, he delivered a lariat. Okada avoided a second one and then landed a drop kick that sent Briscoe, who was seated on the top rope, all the way down to the floor. And that took us all the way into commercial. So back from break, Okada planted Briscoe with a flapjack. Briscoe, though, avoided a tombstone. Both men traded forearms until Okada targeted the eyes. Briscoe answered, though, with a flying forearm and a fisherman's buster for 2. Okada fought off an exploder with an air raid crash. Followed that with a top rope elbow before hitting the Rainmaker flip-off pose. Briscoe, though, bit the finger. Right, he gave everybody the finger, but then Briscoe bit the finger using his side teeth because he's missing his front ones. Briscoe got some height on Froggy Bow for a 2 count. He called for the J Driller. Okada backdrop out of it. He got a backslide. Missed a Rainmaker, but connected on his drop kick. Briscoe dodged another Rainmaker. He tried for the J Driller. Okada broke free. He hit a tombstone, followed by the Rainmaker. All it takes is one, and he got the pin. So after the match, Callis joined Okada in the ring, presented him with his Continental Championship, and the two of them posed while the crowd chanted for Kenny Omega, but you get no Kenny Omega tonight. There was no Kenny Omega. Instead, Callis raked Briscoe's eyes and held him as Okada smashed him in the ribs and the face with the Continental title, and they put the boots to him, and that was that. This was not as good as their Continental Classic match last year. I want to say that one was on Collision. I don't remember. It was Dynamite or Collision, but this was not as good as what I remember that being. And look, no matter where they go, they were at Arena Mexico tonight. Everybody loves Mark Briscoe. He's just that lovable guy who you can always rely on to go out there and give you a good match, even though he rarely wins. But that's his role. It's his role on the show. He's always going to be over no matter what. So they use him in situations where he can lose. Just like he did in they called it a stretcher match. Again, I'll call it an ambulance match against Ricochet and the countless other times that we've seen him. We just saw him against Jon Moxley, right, the other week. That's his role. So this was not as good as their last match. It was still solid. After this, we had one of the feature matches that was promoted for the show this week, which was between MJF and Mistico. MJF came out with the rest of the Hurt Syndicate. He was waving the American flag and saluting. He was rocking the red, white, and blue MVP style gear. I think it's a good look for him. He started wearing the MVP gear a couple weeks ago. And I don't know. I don't know if he's going to stick with that going forward, but it's a different look. It's like when Jericho switched from the long tights to the trunks. I remember that. Like, it was just weird, because even going back to like the ECW and the WCW days, he always basically wore the same gear. And then it was pretty late in his career, and all of a sudden he changes. And it was kind of jarring. It's like, all right, well, this is kind of weird. And then that became the norm. After a while, you didn't really think anything of it, because I'm not spending most of my time staring at Jericho's legs. So with MJF, it was a little bit weird seeing him in that gear, but I think it works for him. No American Championship, though. I could have sworn in his promo last week when he was talking to Mistico that he said that he would be bringing back the American Championship for one night only. But we had no American title tonight. Then we had Mistico's entrance. This was the highlight of the entire show. This was the best thing on the entire show, in my opinion. He comes out, he even busted out the old blue Sin Cara mask. It was only for the entrance, and he quickly pulled it off, and he had another mask on underneath. But I thought that was funny. I'm still thinking about that sloppy Sin Cara line from last week that MJF said. So he had the Sin Cara mask. He entered to the song Mi Muero. Mi Muero. He's in the music video for the damn song. That song came out almost 20 years ago. But he's actually in the music video for it. So they played this song. This whole entrance, it reminded me of a Minoru Suzuki entrance. When he comes out to Kazuchika, and everybody in the building, like at the top of their lungs, is singing this song. And I mean, they did a whole damn sing-along for it. And it was awesome. I assume Tony Khan may have had to pay to license the song, to use it on TV. I'm not sure. Not sure what the rights situation is for a song like that. But if he did, good, because it made for a very fun moment here on the show. Yeah, the story of Mistico is really something else. I remember it was the mid-2000s, and he was the biggest deal in Mexico. I mean, he really was. Like, he was the guy. He was the top babyface. So when he signed to come over to WWE, I think there was a press conference. Like, it was a big deal. And he left Mexico to come to WWE. And immediately, the reports were, well, he really thinks a lot of himself, and he's got a chip on his shoulder, and he's getting heat, and he's rubbing people the wrong way. And sure enough, like, whatever little push they gave him there at the beginning very quickly fizzled out, and it just didn't work out. He was a huge flop, to the point where they had to use somebody else as like the new Sin Cara, right? Hunico, and he took over. So he comes back to Mexico, and he's right back to being the top babyface. And now he's 15 plus years older. He's in his early 40s now. But he comes out there, and you see the reaction that he gets. Like, he's the guy. He's still like the top fucking babyface in all of Mexico. And everybody is singing along, and everybody is just, having a good time. And it was special, and he feels, like a big deal, because he is a big deal. But it could have gone very differently. Had the WWE run, if the WWE run, even if it would have been a little more successful, I still think long term, it probably wasn't going to work. I think it was just an oil and water type situation. And also, he really was the biggest thing in Mexico for a time. Coming into WWE, yeah, he probably did think, hey, I'm a big deal. And maybe he felt that he should have been in a better spot than he was. Maybe it was your typical WWE thing where, people are jealous or resentful, make shit up about the guy. Yeah, you can get heat very easily, and you can bury somebody very easily if you want to. So who knows how different things would have turned out for him if that initial run would have gotten off on a better foot. But he went right back to Mexico. And again, you see him come out here, and he's still a big deal. Not everybody would be so lucky if they went back to basically get the same spot back that they had before. But MJF ragdolled him to start the match, immediately started mocking the crowd. Mistico battled back with a huge twisting arm drag off the top and a code red for a quick 2 count. MJF sidestepped a dive, went over to MVP to go get some advice, because again, the Hurt Syndicate was out there with him. So he goes over to MVP to try to get some advice. Mistico chased him down until MJF hid behind the Hurt Syndicate, and then he broke through them with a cheap shot to Mistico. Back in the ring, MJF kept posing. MVP is losing his mind outside the ring because he wants him to stay focused. Pay attention to your opponent. Pay attention to the task at hand here. MJF blocked the second code red attempt, and he hit a powerbomb on the knee for a 2 count. During the commercial break, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, they both got involved behind the referee's back. We come back live. MJF is giving Mistico a pelvic thrust to the face. And then he turns his back on him. And Mistico, basically, he hulks up and hits a handspring back elbow. MJF ran into a springboard crossbody. There was a tilt-a-whirl DDT that spiked MJF, who bailed outside. Mistico came flying down onto him with another springboard crossbody to the floor. Back inside, MJF spat in Mistico's face and then poked him in the eye because the mask has an eye hole. So he poked him in the eye. Mistico, though, met him with a destroyer. Only on the destroyer, the momentum sent MJF back up to his feet in a vertical position, and he fired off a penalty kick, and then he collapsed on top of Mistico. Mistico, though, kicked out. So MJF looked like he was getting out of there. Looked like he's bailing slowly, crawling up the ramp. He's getting out of there. Mistico runs after him. He tried for a La Mistica it was on stage. MJF turned it into a tombstone, and both men were down. Bryce Remsburg, the referee, MVP on each man. MJF gets up. He drags Remsburg back to the ring, and he orders him to start the count. Dark Effect with a Brie mode. It's Grand Slam Mexico. And we got a Brie mode. Thank you, Dark Effect. Good to hear from you, brother. We got a ways to go on that goal in the chat, though. So he drags Remsburg back to the ring and says, count. So he begins to count. And the count, of course, the crowd is counting along in Spanish. Mistico rises from the dead. He beats the count back in at ocho. Mistico then catches MJF in the ropes, hits a Spanish fly for a 2 count. Then he gets La Mistica. But right as MJF was tapping out, MVP took the referee. And that allowed MJF to hit a low blow and a schoolboy for a close 2 count. And they zoomed in on MJF's face. He had this shocked expression. And then he just blatantly kicked Mistico in the dick right in front of Bryce Remsburg, who called the match off and called for the disqualification. And that is how the match ended. So then MJF shoves Bryce down. Lashley, Benjamin, MJF, all 3 men now ganging up on Mistico. And MJF proceeds to rip off the mask. And he takes Mistico's mask and he puts it on himself. And I'm like, ugh. You ain't putting that sweaty mask on my head. That guy's been wrestling in that mask for the last 20 minutes and breathing into it. Now you get, and it's a tight mask too. And he puts the mask on his own head. Ugh. Fucking gross. So Bandito, Templario, and Titan, they rush down to the ramp. They don't get into the ring. They rush down right to the ropes, and they're squaring up, and the Hurt Syndicate is in the ring, and they're squaring up. And this feels like it's taking forever. And the reason it feels this way is because behind the Hurt Syndicate, we see Speedball Mike Bailey, and we see Kevin Knight, who have been a team of late. And they're each climbing up to the top rope. So basically, they were just sort of waiting for these guys to arrive. And they come off the top rope with drop kicks for the Hurt Syndicate, who then retreat out to the ramp. I thought the match, it was a fun match with a hot crowd until the lame finish. And I know they kind of had the visual win there for Mistico, but I don't see why they couldn't just give him the win here. Especially if Speedball and Kevin Knight were going to get involved anyway. You would just have to rework the finish and the post-match and have them maybe come out a little bit earlier and have them be the reason why MJF loses the match, right? Get under the Hurt Syndicate's skin a little bit. Because MJF, when the match was over, he was going to rip the mask off Mistico anyway, and get his heat back, even if he lost. Because, he was going to steal the guy's mask. So I don't know why they couldn't just give Mistico the win here, but this is how they chose to do it. As far as Speedball and as far as MJF matches go, not his best, but again, it was fun because the atmosphere made it fun. These fans were solidly behind Mistico. And you knew that MJF coming to Mexico, the guy knows how to get heat pretty much anywhere he goes. So that really is what made the match fun. So the match was good. It was not like, it will not be looked back on as one of the best MJF matches in Dynamite history. But I had fun with it. Not that finish. I didn't like the finish, but the match itself I thought was fun. Speedball and Kevin Knight, clearly they're being positioned, possibly in Texas, to challenge Lashley and Benjamin for the tag team titles. I still have no reason to sit here and tell you that I think they're actually going to win those championships. I don't see there being a team right now, short of an FTR or a Young Bucks, that would honestly go over on the Hurt Syndicate. Now, you can work an angle where MJF is at ringside and he tries to help them and it backfires. And in that case, anybody can win. I mean, you could stick Speedball and Kevin Knight in there and have miscommunication cost Lashley and Benjamin the titles. That's about the only way I see them losing those championships. There still is really no other team on that roster as dominant as these guys have been. And it's a weird thing because there are some of these ex-WWE guys that have come into this company, and I'm thinking specifically the Hurt Syndicate and Adam Copeland. And there have been a lot of others as well that have come in and have not been quite as dominant. But Copeland and the Hurt Syndicate in particular, you get these 50-year-old guys that come in from WWE, and they're so dominant. And they beat everybody practically. And in the case of the Hurt Syndicate, they come out and they have this cool factor about them. And they're cheered like baby faces, even though they're really not. But sometimes you can be too cool. And you just are so dominant over everybody else. And the tag team division in AEW right now is nothing like what it used to be. So that's part of the issue as well. That when you look at the lay of the land, it's like, man, I don't see any real competition here for these guys. I don't really see anybody out there who I can point to and go, okay, these guys, they're the ones that should have the titles next, or they're the ones that are going to win the titles next. Again, maybe Speedball and Kevin Knight could be the beneficiary of an MJF miscommunication, and that's what kind of leads us to MJF against Bobby Lashley at some point. That doesn't look very likely for Texas, though. Now, MJF has no match right now for All In. We're less than a month away. We're now about 3 weeks away from All In. I don't see what the obvious match is for MJF. You assume Lashley and Benjamin are defending their titles, so we're not going to get a Hurt Syndicate Trios match. I was kind of thinking we would get MJF and Lashley. That doesn't seem very likely at this point. AEW does not have any more big shows between now and Texas. This was it. This was the big Arena Mexico show. There's no other pay-per-views. I don't think they have any other kind of special episodes of Dynamite between now and then. It's all about Texas now. And I'm still sitting here wondering, what is MJF going to do on that show? Or are they literally just going to have him at ringside for the tag team title match and feed into whatever the story is that they want to tell? Like, there could be a major angle development if he ends up accidentally screwing them out of the titles, right? That would be a significant development. But the idea of him not even having a match on their biggest show of the year is kind of crazy. It's kind of wild to me. If it works out that way, that would be pretty crazy. Speaking of crazy, do you know what we had next? We had a 4 million pesos high-flying four-way with Ricochet, Lio Rush, And by the way, just when you thought it couldn't get any more ridiculous, the 4 million pesos, for those of you wondering, is the equivalent of about 210,000 US dollars. So nothing to sneeze at. Ricochet, Hologram, Lio Rush, and Mascara Dorada fighting for 4 million pesos in this match. Someone said the Casino Gauntlet match. So we're just going to throw MJF in the Casino Gauntlet? Hasn't he done that before? Doesn't that seem like a bit of a waste for MJF? I suppose they'll do one. They usually do one on these all-in shows. Pesos on a pole. They did not have the Pesos on a pole. Although, you know, if Russo was booking this show, there would have been the Pesos would have been in a piñata hanging from a pole in the corner. I guarantee you that. So we had Hologram and Dorada. They formed an alliance early on here in this match, and they took out Lio Rush and Ricochet with some double team offense. They eventually had to fight each other because, again, it's a fucking four-way. It's not a tag match. The heels, though, chose that exact moment when they were about to fight each other to pull them out of the ring. Now, it is one fall to a finish, so I guess that kind of makes sense. Dorada fired back with a big knee strike on Ricochet. Kick to the face of Lio Rush. Hologram attempted a top rope flying nothing and got intercepted out of midair with a drop kick. I don't know what he was going for. He wasn't going for anything is the real answer, because the spot was he was going to be taken out of midair. But I always love the good old flying nothing in these matches. It's like when somebody jumps off the top rope and the spot is that they're going to eat the foot, right? Somebody's going to get their boot up. So they just jump off the top rope, and it's like, what were you attempting to do? Can you at least make it look as if you were going to do something, like stick your elbow out or something? No, they just jump off the top, straight down. What if the guy forgot to get his boot up? Wouldn't you look stupid? Actually, that did kind of happen once at a SummerSlam match. That's why Shawn Michaels got so pissed off at Vader. He came off the top rope. Vader was supposed to do something and he didn't. Shawn landed on his feet and he got all pissy. Stomped him right on his head. Ah, the flying nothing. So Ricochet then dove onto Mascara Dorada on the floor. That took us into the commercial break. Rush and Ricochet, they remained in control until their temporary alliance broke down. Dorada delivered a destroyer to Ricochet, and then Hologram dumped Rush to the floor. Dorada and Hologram got into a one-on-one battle. Hologram delivered a Spanish fly. Dorada responded with a crucifix bomb. Ricochet broke up the pin attempt. So Lio Rush, he delivered poison ranas to everybody in the match, and then a big frog splash to Dorada. Ricochet broke up the fall and then climbed to the top. Rush, though, popped up to his feet and met Ricochet up top, and they were maneuvering around on the ropes kind of awkwardly, and I was trying to figure out, like, what are they going for here? Like, what are they doing? And then I realized, because they were waiting. They were waiting for Hologram to show up. Ricochet got dumped on his groin in the corner. Hologram then delivered a portal bomb, which is a very cool looking move, I will say. A portal bomb to Lio Rush, and he pinned him to remain undefeated. Hologram is still undefeated. He missed a long time with an injury, but take that away, he has been undefeated since his first match in AEW. Not only is he undefeated, he is now 4 million pesos richer. How about that? Did they interview him after the match to find out what he was going to be doing with all those pesos? No. Who knows? Maybe he'll buy some new masks. You should take a look at those masks they're selling on Shop AEW and how cheap they look. Maybe they could invest in some better quality masks. But he is now 4 million pesos richer. You know, for a guy who's been undefeated, I don't know what his record is now, 25-0, 30-0. He's like Goldberg without the muscles and a mask on. You would think for a guy who has been undefeated for, I think, a year, that he would want a title shot more than the pesos. Evidently not. So it started out basically as a tornado tag team match, and then it transitioned into more of an actual four-way. It was the spot fest that you would expect. This felt like, you know what this felt like to me? This felt like one of the many four-way King of the Ring matches or Queen of the Ring matches that we've been getting on television the last few weeks. Those first round matches, they're all four ways. This basically followed the same formula. Like if you look at who was in this match, if you remember, I had forgotten, if you remember that Hologram is undefeated, you figure, well, Hologram is, at the very least, Hologram is not going to eat the pin. They don't want to pin Hologram. I mean, that's Tony Khan's boy. So he was safe. Ricochet could very well have won the match. He was my favorite coming into it. Lio Rush and Mascara Dorada. Mascara Dorada was not winning. Lio Rush was not winning. And then as far as like, who's taking the losing fall in this match? Of course, it's going to be Lio Rush. It's the same way that WWE does these four-way matches. They always stick that one person in there. You look at it and go, okay, that's the person who's getting pinned. That's the person who's looking up at the lights at the end of this match. And that's exactly the way it worked. Ricochet got taken out in the corner, so he didn't have to eat the pin. Hologram's undefeated streak stays intact, and Lio Rush is in there to do job duty. I don't know what the hell happened to Dorada. He disappeared. I think he was outside somewhere. So this basically followed the exact same formula. They protect Ricochet from having to take the pin. Now up next, this was probably the most newsworthy of all the matches and segments on the show because we had a championship match. We had the TBS champion, Mercedes Mone, challenging Zeuxis for the CMLL Women's World Championship. The first and only sign of the women, any woman, on this entire show. First and last. And in the ring, at least. We'll talk about Marina Shafir. But the first and last of the women on this show, basically. And we were 2 hours in. Zeuxis refused a handshake. Got a quick pin attempt for a 2. And Mercedes is in the corner and she's covering up. And she ends up eating the double knees in the corner. Zeuxis then catches her in midair with something that looked like she got her up in position for like an angel's wings and was holding her upside down and then dropped her down into a facebuster. I'm pretty sure Stephanie Vicaire used that same move on Asuka in their Queen of the Ring match on Monday night. So Mercedes recovered. She locked in the statement maker. Zeuxis, though, got the ropes and rolled out of the ring. And Mercedes met her with a baseball slide. So back inside, there was a snap Hurricane Rana that sent Mercedes back outside the ring, and Zeuxis came in hot with a tope suicida. She came flying out of the ring, and holy shit, she damn near killed herself. You know, we talk sometimes about how, man, this guy looked like he landed on his head, or God, this person was this close. They looked like they almost landed right on their head. She landed directly down on top of her head on those thick mats outside the ring. I don't know what she was thinking coming out of the ring the way that she did, but she landed right on her own fucking head. And then they went into the commercial break. They come back from break, and Zeuxis somehow is still breathing, and she is not paralyzed. She was able to battle back with a Spanish fly off the top rope for a 2 count. And I have to say, you know, that canvas, I really noticed it on this spot here. She takes Mercedes off the top, and Mercedes took a pretty hard landing, and that mat had no give. At least on that spot. Like, it barely budged. So that looked like it sucked as far as that landing goes. So Mercedes escaped a fireman's carry into a Hurricane Rana and a backstabber into the statement maker once again, but Zeuxis got the hands unlocked and hit a pump handle drop for a 2 count. Both women fought up in the corner. Zeuxis looked for an avalanche body. I think she was going for an avalanche body slam or a power slam. Mercedes held on though, and in flipping over, she basically hit a power slam of her own, and she pinned her just like that. She pinned her to win the championship. So Mercedes sits up, and they zoom in on her face, and she has a shocked expression on her face. She would be the only one if she was shocked, because I promise you, nobody else watching this show was. Not a single fucking person watching this show with a functioning brain cell was shocked by the outcome of this match. I don't know how many titles that is. People in the chat before said 6. So I'm gonna assume the number is 6. She has 6 championships. I can't even name them all. 6 belts. She has the TBS title. Now she has the CMLL title. She has the Rev Pro, right? British women's heavyweight title. She has her Owen Hart title that she won from winning the Owen Hart tournament. She already lost the New Japan Strong women's title. What am I missing here? Oh, well, she just went over to Austria. She won the EWA championship. We're still missing one. I can't even keep track of all of them. What am I missing here? What's the other championship I'm missing? I think I just named 5 of the 6. I don't know. But she went to go pose with all of her titles. And she has so many of them that as she's standing there and they're about to shoot a bunch of streamers off, which they eventually did. But they were about to shoot off all these streamers and she dropped one. Couldn't even hold them all up. Like, the cumulative weight of all of these titles is greater than her own body weight. Like, the belts collectively weigh more than she does. They're going to weigh her down. It's like a ridiculous visual at this point. So all of a sudden, a black and white video plays on the screens of Timeless Toni Storm. She's wearing a trench coat and she's walking the streets of Mexico like she's Chad Gable. And the video stops, and then on stage we see Mina Shirakawa. This was her only appearance. She just appeared and she was waving hello. Always good to see Mina, but we only got her for about 3 seconds. But this was a diversion. So Mercedes is in the ring and she's staring at Mina, and she doesn't realize that creeping up in the ring behind her, the lady in red, dressed up as Carmen Sandiego, is Timeless Toni Storm. And Mercedes doesn't even have to turn around. She suddenly gets this sense of who's behind her. And she goes to run away. Toni grabs her, delivers a German suplex. All of the belts go flying. She's lucky that one of those belts didn't land on her fucking face. Because, let me tell you something. And anybody who has like a replica belt, like an adult-sized replica belt, and I'm not even talking necessarily like the toy ones from like WWE shop. Like, some people have, really nice replicas in their collection that have some weight. 6-pound belt, 8-pound belt. Like, you guys know. Like, you get hit in the face with that belt, especially if you get hit in the face by like the gold tip of the belt, it'll knock all your fucking teeth out. Like, you got to be careful. So she goes flying and there's like 6 belts. And I'm like, I really hope it doesn't land on her face. But it was a great visual of just seeing her go flying through the air and all of her belts go flying along with her. So Mercedes then scampers off into the crowd. Referees now are holding back Toni Storm. She takes the mic and she says, "Let the games begin." The match itself was okay. It was definitely not one of the better matches Mercedes has had during this run, or a run that has seen her have a lot of great matches. This was not one of them. It wasn't a bad match. It wasn't very good. It was just there. It was a match. I really didn't think anything of it. The outcome was never in doubt. Like I said, no one with a functioning brain believed. Please tell me you didn't believe that less than a month out from All In and this big match they're promoting with her and Toni Storm, that Mercedes, the undefeated Mercedes Mone, was going to lose her first match in AEW. Nobody believed that. Maybe there was some poor sap out there who thought that there would be some sort of disqualification or a time limit draw. Maybe. But nobody believed this woman was going to lose this match. So the outcome was exactly what you had to expect that it would be. This is her gimmick. She is the new belt collector. She is the new belt collector. We've seen people do the belt collector gimmick before. Kenny Omega did it. Of course, nobody did it as well as Ultimo Dragon. People have done this gimmick before, and they collect 6 or 8 belts, 10 belts, whatever it is. I can only hope that when the time comes for her to start losing these titles, because she's not going to lose them all at once, when the time comes for her to start losing, she gets that first loss. And once she loses that first match, now it's open season. Now she can actually start losing the other championships that she has. Maybe she does a downward spiral gimmick, whatever it is. My only hope is that the people who win those titles off of her, at least as far as the titles that we would care about, that they really benefit from it in some meaningful way. And that it isn't all just literally to build up Mercedes at the expense of everybody else. Yeah, but if the idea is that she wins the world title in Texas next month, which right now, why would anybody believe that that wouldn't be the plan? If the idea is that she's going to win the world championship in Texas, that would mean that she has the world title and the TBS title. And there is no point in her holding on to the world title and the TBS title for longer than a few days. So if she's going to lose, she needs to lose not long after winning the world championship. And that in and of itself, honestly, doesn't even make a lot of sense to me. So my fear is that she goes to Texas, she wins the world championship, and then voluntarily surrenders the TBS title. What does that accomplish? Like, we've seen people do that before. You know, you win the world title, you surrender the Intercontinental title. Stephanie Vaquer, right? She had the NXT North American Women's Championship. She won the NXT Women's Championship. She surrendered the North American title. They've done that before. I don't see what that accomplishes, though. I mean, is it really all just to feed, you know, one person's aura, her persona? We've got to build her up to make her seem like she's just this unstoppable force. She can't lose any matches. She's got to win every championship there is to win. At this point, you may as well have her take the fucking title off Jon Moxley. Maybe we're looking at this all wrong. Maybe it's not Hangman Page. Maybe it's not Will Ospreay. Maybe it's not Darby Allin. Maybe it's Mercedes Mone, and she's going to beat Jon Moxley and win the championship. Wouldn't be shocked by that either at this point. But my God, if she goes to Texas and beats Toni Storm and wins that world title, you've got to get the TBS title off of her, and having her just give it up or be forced to surrender it would be stupid. You had all these other opportunities for her to drop the TBS title before she won the Owen, but they wanted her to be undefeated. Was it really necessary? I guess would be the question I would pose to all of you. I don't think it was. Do you think that it is necessary for her to go into Texas still undefeated against Toni Storm? Or was there an opportunity for her to drop that TBS title to somebody else in April? Let's just say. And then out of that, she rebounds by winning the Owen. And now she can go challenge for the world championship. They chose to have her just keep stacking belt after belt after belt after belt. Well, here we are now. I hope they have a damn good plan for somebody to really benefit from this when the time is right. There was also a potential story there with Athena going into Texas and having somebody else entirely challenge Toni Storm. That person being Jamie Hayter. Now it turns out Jamie Hayter is hurt. She got hurt coming out of her match with Mercedes. And we don't know what the injury is or how bad it is or isn't. But I'll tell you something right now. One thing that lives rent-free in my head from that match was the finish of that match. When Mercedes spiked her right on her fucking head on that DDT. I wouldn't be shocked if that's where the injury comes from. Hopefully it's not a neck issue. If she's lucky, she only got off with a concussion. So she's out of the picture now anyway. I don't even know. I doubt she'll even have a match at All In. I feel like a fucking idiot for even suggesting in the first place that we get Toni Storm and Jamie Hayter. Now she probably won't even be on the show. You got Athena giving interviews, talking about how grateful she is to be in AEW and putting the company over and putting Tony Khan over, and in the same breath, she's admitting, you know, boy, it would really be disappointing if I don't end up on that card in Texas. I really hope I can make it onto the All-In card. So we're 3 weeks away from a show that, at this point, she may not even get onto. If she's lucky, maybe she'll get a match on the pre-show. Of course she wants to be on the show. It's the biggest show of the year. It's a stadium show. They're going to have 20,000 plus people there. She's from Texas. She owns and operates her own independent promotion out of Bedford, Texas. Texas is special to her. Of course she wants to be on that show. And still, I have people that will sometimes come back at me and respond when I talk about Athena and say, well, maybe she doesn't want to be on AEW television. Maybe she wants to be in Ring of Honor, and that's where they make up all kinds of excuses to justify something that is unjustifiable. Now, obviously, tonight they were in Mexico, so we had Bandito on the show. But we see Bandito on the show with some degree of regularity. We've seen the ROH Tag Team Champions on these shows as well. We just saw them at the recent pay-per-view, challenging for the tag team titles. I come back to that whole question of why is it okay for all of these other champions from Ring of Honor to make sporadic appearances on AEW television, but it's not okay for their forever champion, their women's champion, 900 days, to be on Dynamite? Why is that not allowed more than maybe once a year? Nobody can still give me a good answer on that. And I said this on Twitter today. I said, what I think, my 2 cents, I think that Tony Khan, he wanted a television deal for Ring of Honor. He's wanted one for quite some time. Television or streaming, either one. And there was a report that he actually had a potential offer from the CW going back 2 or 3 years. And he's the one who opted against it because he was hoping to get something with Warner Brothers Discovery. Well, Warner Brothers Discovery doesn't want anything to do with Ring of Honor. They've had years and years and years to make a deal for a Ring of Honor show. They've had years and years and years, or they had years, if they wanted to take Rampage, which turned into a useless show, which is why it's not on the air anymore, and turn that into an hour of Ring of Honor on Friday nights. And they didn't do it because they don't give a shit about Ring of Honor. I think he wanted to build her up and build her up and build her up. And he put the men's title on Jericho a couple of times with the idea that they would be the centerpieces of a Ring of Honor television show, not on Honor Club, an actual television show. Only nobody gave a shit. And nobody made him that offer. Or no offer was good enough for him. And so here we are now, 3-4 years later. There's still no proper TV deal for Ring of Honor. There may never be. And this woman is in Ring of Honor for 900 days as the champion. I think she even made a comment in the Sports Illustrated interview that I saw, where she was like, "Well, I guess I'll be, or I'll probably be on the Ring of Honor pay-per-view, because there is a Ring of Honor pay-per-view the night before All In." It was almost like, does she even know that she's going to be on the show? Well, I guess I'll be there, but I really hope I get on the All In card. Like there were multiple different ways that you could have gone with this, but Tony Khan wanted to go for the biggest possible women's match he could. It just so happens that they are both a champion. And I'm still wondering as I sit here now, what is the end goal of this? And is the end goal here something I'm not seeing that when it happens, I'll look at it and go, all right, that makes sense. And this is a good sort of solution to what I look at as a real problem, when it comes to everybody else who's in this women's division. So I only hope that when this is over and we get to that point where Mercedes wins the world title or doesn't, whatever happens in Texas, somebody is lined up to really benefit from all of this. Mercedes has been benefiting since she came into the company of big business. Who else is going to benefit from this? Who is that person or people? That's what I'm struggling with right now. One thing I will say, I enjoyed the post-match because we actually didn't have Mercedes, sitting at ringside eating dinner, watching the match. We had kind of a fun post-match angle here. We had a little bit of physicality. So I enjoyed the post-match. I enjoyed the post-match more than the match itself. And then we had our main event. 10-man tag team match. Another multi-man match, one of many here on this show. The Young Bucks, Jon Moxley, Wheeler Yuta, and the Beast Mortos. Mr. Mone, a late addition. He replaced Claudio Castagnoli, who, according to Brian Alvarez, is not hurt, but for reasons unknown, was not able to make the show. They took on Swerve Strickland, Will Ospreay, and the Opps. Samoa Joe, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Katsuyori Shibata. Marina Shafir was out there with Jon Moxley and Wheeler Yuta, and my goodness, it must have been awfully cold there in Arena, Mexico. But what a week it has been for the Beast. Let's talk about the Beast here for a second. The Beast Mortos. Look at this guy's week. He passed his law exam. So you may have seen like memes going around on the internet over the last few months about him being a lawyer named Frank, right? Roderick Strong for a while on TV was calling him Frank. Nobody could figure out why. But that's all legit. Like, he passed his law exam. So within the next few months, the Beast Mortos is going to be a lawyer. Hey, maybe they could get Mortos to defend Jon Moxley and AEW in this lawsuit that was just filed against them. Maybe he could represent them. So he passed his law exam. We had the story just yesterday, right? It was yesterday, I believe, on TMZ, confirming, for those of you who give a shit, that the Beast Mortos is dating Mercedes Mone. Mercedes and the Beast, Beauty and the Beast, they are officially a couple. They are an item. And now the Beast Mortos is in the main event. It just so happens a day after this story breaks that this man is in the main event on Dynamite. And he ends up on the winning team, no less. This guy is riding high. It's good to be the Beast right now. His fortunes are changing. Because every fucking time I see this guy in the ring on AEW television, he loses. Now he's in the main event and he wins. But just him being at Arena Mexico is a big deal. And some people may not understand this because many years ago, the Beast Mortos, he was basically blacklisted from CMLL for many, many years. He was on the CMLL roster. He had a different name at the time, but he was part of the CMLL roster. He made the jump to AAA. And that's a no-no because CMLL and AAA, they don't like each other and they don't play nice. So he made the jump over to AAA, and he was banned from Arena Mexico since 2011. So now it's 2025. It's been almost 15 years. This man has been banned from Arena Mexico, and the ban has been lifted. And so there he was. Him just being on the show was a big deal for all of those reasons. And I think Bandito was in the same boat, although he was in Arena Mexico far more recently than 14 years ago. So good week for the Beast. Ospreay started the match with Mortos. He sent Mortos to the floor with a Hurricane Rana. Swerve tagged in. He and Ospreay landed some double team offense on Wheeler Yuta. Samoa Joe tagged in. He delivered some rapid fire punches. Yuta was basically the punching bag for everybody. Shibata tagged in. He went to work on him as well. Hobbs tagged in. Everybody took turns hitting some offense in the corner. And you see that Moxley is in the heel corner on the apron there, getting very agitated as he's watching this. Yuta landed a jawbreaker on Joe, made the tag to Moxley. Joe applied a sleeper almost immediately. The bench is cleared. Big brawl broke out. Ospreay landed a sky twister press off the top onto the pile outside the ring. That took us into the final commercial break here of the night. So Ospreay was desperate for a tag as the show came back. He eventually escaped Moxley, made a tag to Hobbs. He came in along with Yuta and delivered lariats in the corner. And then he stared down the Young Bucks in the corner. He got jumped by Moxley and Yuta. Hobbs fired back with a pair of lariats. Shibata and Hobbs, they delivered more abuse to Yuta as Ospreay and Swerve dove onto the heels on the floor. Mortos delivered a spear to Powerhouse Hobbs. So Mortos and Joe, they traded punches, and Joe gave him a Uranagi out of the corner. Got cut down, though, by the Young Bucks. Ospreay then landed a double Os cutter, springboard Os cutter off the ropes to both Bucks. Although the one to Nick Jackson, he wasn't quite able to grab onto him as he came down. So Nick Jackson basically gave himself a cutter. But he hits both the Bucks. Swerve then dove onto them because they rolled out to the floor. Swerve dove onto them at ringside. Yuta delivered a Busaiku knee to both Ospreay and Shibata. Swerve and Ospreay cleared Yuta from the ring and attempted to isolate Moxley when Marina Shafir got involved and distracted Jon Moxley, or distracted Ospreay, I should say. That allowed Moxley to roll up Swerve with a handful of tights, and he picks up the win. So that is how the main event on this show ended, with Jon Moxley getting the cheap roll-up. Hangman Page delivered on his promise after the match was over. He came out to the ring. He brawled with Moxley. Moxley avoided a buckshot lariat. Instead, Hangman accidentally, he didn't mean to, but he wiped out Matt Jackson with the buckshot instead. Moxley tried to ambush Hangman with the briefcase, but then thought better of it when all the baby faces got back into the ring, and Hangman stared down the Bucks as the show went off the air. So now we have some drama going into Texas, where the Bucks have been claiming that we love you, Hangman. We love you, brother. And now Hangman just took one of their heads off with the buckshot lariat. So now they're going to play up drama within the ranks of the Elite and the Bucks and Hangman, and God help us all if we go to Texas and that fucking match ends with the Young Bucks turning on Hangman Page and helping Jon Moxley retain the AEW World Championship. Let us hope that that does not happen. But that's one of the angles I'm sure they're going to tease now as we head on into Texas. The main event, again, there was some fun action there, kind of in the middle of the match. I hated the finish. The post-match really wasn't even anything special, but they wanted to set up the buckshot spot with the Bucks. The buckshot with the Bucks. So they did that, although it seemed like a little bit of a waste. I mean, we opened the show 2.5 hours earlier with Hangman saying, hey, I'm going to stick around here. Nobody said I can't get my hands on Jon Moxley after the match. And he did very briefly. And then they did the spot with the Bucks and they went off the air. So he didn't really end up doing much. But the finish of this match and the finish of the MJF match I thought were very lame. As far as the rest of the matches in the card, again, Mercedes and, in her match, I've seen much better from her during this title run. The 4 million pesos 4-way was like any other fucking 4-way match you would see on these shows. I mean, there was just nothing about it that makes it stand out in any way above any of the other multi-man matches that we've seen. The goal here felt like we have to just try to get as many people on the show as possible. Everybody wants to work Arena Mexico. Tony Khan was going to try to make that happen for as many people as he could. I don't know what the issues were with Cash Wheeler or with Claudio, but they weren't able to make the show. I'm sure we'll find out soon enough what the reasons were. So we had some fun action in some of the matches, but it was an above average show. If you strip away the ambiance of working in Arena Mexico, it was an above average show that was a lot more fun than it would have been in almost any other venue. And hopefully they'll do more shows there in the future. You can only run there so many times. But this being the first, hopefully it won't be the last, because that crowd was hot all night. Yeah, I hear from people, and Meltzer always talks about it, online every chance he gets, because I think he watches CMLL weekly. And he's always raving about the crowds, and it was packed, and it was sold out this week, and business is booming. And, to see another promotion, an American promotion, running Arena Mexico, and granted there were CMLL talents obviously on the show, but it was fun, to see them into Hangman so much and into so many of the other top names like Swerve and Ospreay and so on. It just made for a fun atmosphere. But again, you strip that away. What did we really get here? As far as like furthering a lot of the key stories, I don't think this was a terribly important week for that. Outside of what they did at the very end, I guess, with Hangman and the Bucks. So I had fun enough with it. But it's about all I could say. Let's see what you said. Curious to say, I actually have not seen this poll since I pasted it in here, so let's see. I know it was close. It's still pretty close, but thumbs down is winning out. 53.8, almost 54% thumbs down for this show. 46.2% thumbs up with almost 1,200 votes in so far. So we actually are in thumbs down territory for Grand Slam Mexico. So be sure to chime in and maybe you'll swing the balance the other way. I don't know, but I feel like Dynamite has had more thumbs up than thumbs down recently. So not looking too good tonight. He's back.
Shut the fuck up.
At least he wasn't on the show tonight.
Fuck that.
Fire it up.
I have the best moveset.
Fire it up. Fire up. You chainsaw Charlie. Hey, Ray Wrighton is with us. Hey, Ray. Mercedes burying women all over the world is a sight to see. But Charlotte and Becky are the selfish ones. Got it. Yeah, you have people calling Becky Hogan and calling Mercedes Hogan. They just take Hogan and they attach it to whoever the dominant female happens to be at the moment. Like this music. See, I read Ray's before everybody else's because that's just how I roll. I see Ray's name. I have to show her some love. All right, let's go back. Read your super chats here. Thank you guys for hanging out with me here on a Wednesday night. Grand Slam. We're gonna start. Who are we starting with here? We're starting with Weekly Wrestling Roundup. Starting with the early ones first before we get to Uffman over here and his 50 months of channel membership. Weekly Wrestling Roundup with a 5. Have you heard about Hook being in a short film that will be premiering at the Tribeca Film Festival? It's called Money Talks. Yes, and the S at the end is a $sign. I did see the trailer. I don't know if Hook was in it outside of the final, 10 seconds. But he is in one of the closing shots of the trailer, and they cut him off right before he drops an F-bomb. I don't know, it looks kind of interesting. I don't know, I don't get the sense that his role in the movie is terribly extensive, but good for him. Good for him. He's in his first feature film. We got Terrible Dried Chicken. Says that he wants to give Kairi Sane a big shout out. I saw her Instagram post today. It's not her fault. Accidents happen. I hope it's not a burden for her. Yeah, Kairi posted about the Liv Morgan injury, because Liv Morgan was injured on Raw Monday night during their match. Barely even got a match. I mean, it literally was the first spot of the match. And it was a total fluke thing. It was a complete freak injury and freak accident that happened. And she dislocated her shoulder. It was the way that she braced herself when she landed on the mat. And Kairi got the win. You know, some of the things I saw online, people were posting, I guess, during the commercial break, they called the match off and they announced that Kairi was the winner. And Kairi hit the ropes, and that was kind of her way of celebrating. And there were some bozos online who were like, I can't believe that this is how you behave after somebody was injured. And like these people have never watched professional wrestling before a day in their fucking lives. Are you? I don't believe. In some cases, I just cannot bring myself to believe that these people are real. Like, these are real, living, breathing human beings. It's scary. It really is scary. And then, of course, you have all the idiots online blaming Kyrie as if it was her fucking fault. Which, get the fuck out of here with that. I don't want to hear anything about that. She did nothing wrong in this case. You know, people were calling her out for what happened in the match with Zoe Stark and Rhea Ripley. And you know what? If you want to talk about her not being in the position that she was supposed to be in that match, you go ahead and have that argument. But in this case, there's no one to blame. It is the very definition of a freak accident. What happened to Liv Morgan? And anybody who wants to give Kairi Sane shit for what happened on Monday, you can go fuck yourself, because she did absolutely nothing wrong. She has no reason to feel guilty about anything that happened in that match. It's just people who don't like her who were piling on her for no good reason. So pay no attention to it. It's unfortunate what happened though, because Liv, I saw the update today, Liv, it's a worst case scenario because she's going to need surgery. The hope was that she wouldn't need surgery. She might just be out for a few weeks even. But she needs surgery. So that tells me that it was more than just a shoulder dislocation. She really did a number on herself. And if she's having surgery, then we're not going to see her for many months. So that fucking sucks. Because really, if you think about it, that entire Judgment Day story revolves around her. And her driving, you know, basically driving a wedge between Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio. So they're going to really have to shake things up a little bit as far as that story is concerned and figure out what they're going to do. But anyway, yeah, just a lot of really just dumb shit that I've seen on social media this week. It just seems to get dumber and dumber and dumber as the weeks go on. That's why I spend less and less time, or I try to anyway, on there, because it's just, it's one thing to interact with people or to come across, you know, different opinions and theories about things, but when you come across just pure stupidity, it's just stupidity. It's like, what am I wasting my time on this shit for? You know, I mean, there's a lot of really stupid people on social media. Like, these people are dumb. I don't get it. Is it Gen Z? Like, what is it? I don't understand. Havili, I understand this. I didn't even go live tonight, and Havili dropped a big bomb. I think this is, he's in Brisbane, but I think the equivalent of what he dropped is about 120 US, so it's not quite 4 million pesos. But hey, Havili, what's going on, man? Good to hear from you, brother. Says, what's up, Solomonster? Favorite Mexican wrestler? Favorite Mexican wrestler? I don't know. I mean, I might have to go with Rey Mysterio, right? Might have to go with Ray. Bo Jackson or Deion Sanders? No, Bo Jackson. Oh, no.
Mentos, the fresh maker.
Why was it so jacked up? Usually only when I come to the super chat screen. So some of these super chats play and they are just deformed, and I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why they sound that way. That was not a Mentos. That was like what would that be? Like a Jolly Rancher, maybe. I think people in the chat were like legitimately alarmed by what they just heard. That happens. I don't know why it happens. I don't know why. I have no idea. I think Mentos has been through some shit. I think it's going through a tough time. That's what I think. Anyway, Bo Jackson or Deion Sanders? Definitely Bo Jackson. Deion Sanders was very fast. He had a lot of speed. Talent-wise, He was no Bo Jackson. Favorite band and song? Man, Hall & Oates. Adult Education. It's a great song. Family Matters, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Family Matters. Heenan Monsoon, Ventura McMahon, or Lawler and Ross. Heenan and Monsoon. Thanks for everything you do. Thank you, Havili. Thank you for everything that you do. Terrible Dried Chicken says, fuck it. I'm rooting for AEW to do great this year. If WWE wants to keep counter-programming AEW, this Dried Chicken says, go ahead. Fatigue will set in. Well, I mean, everybody should be rooting for AEW to do great this year. I don't know why anybody would root otherwise. Havili says, favorite version of the Frogs or 5-star Splash? Montez Ford's 5-star Frog Splash. It's like a 6-star. He gets more height than RVD did on most of his. You know, RVD is sort of like, yeah, the standard when it comes to that. But Montez Ford, in terms of like just sheer height, Montez Ford, I think, has him beat. Havili says, favorite Lucha Underground match and wrestler. Does Katrina count? I mean, she didn't wrestle too often on the show. My favorite Lucha Underground match. There were a lot of great matches on Lucha Underground. I love the way they did Aztec Warfare. They found a way to do the Royal Rumble and make it better. But I think it was in season 1. Their version of a casket match is called Grave Consequences. So it was the first Grave Consequences match with Rey Fenix and Mil Muertes. And Katrina was involved in that as well. Probably no surprise there. AAA or CMLL? I don't follow either product close enough to really be a good judge of that. So it's hard for me to pick one over the other. I can't do that. The 3D or the Doomsday Device? Doomsday Device. Boneyard match or Total Deletion? Boneyard match. Also, thoughts on WWE finally giving us what we want and SmackDown going back to 2 hours. I'll believe it when I see it. Supposedly July 4th. It's going back to 2 hours. We shall see. Do I have any knowledge of the heat between Mickey and Victoria? Thank you. Mickey James and Victoria? I don't. I don't know that I knew there was heat between them. That's news to me. Linklex. Mercedes Hogan. Here we go. Mercedes Hogan is living proof that it's time to close that damn forbidden door. I'm so sick to death of the belt collector gimmick. Boots. Don't be fooled by her charms. Renee Paquette is the higher power behind the Death Riders. Oh, really? Now you want to get back to the whole higher power thing? You got Mikey S. How would Randy Orton have been booked had he signed with AEW in 2019? I'm curious since he seems like the opposite of what Tony would push. I think Randy Orton was a big enough name that he would have been pushed. He would have been pushed just fine. Obviously, he doesn't have the flashy style that a lot of people on the AEW roster have. He's not going to be doing a lot of high-risk stuff. I think he would have done just fine, though. He would have been right there in that mix with MJF, had matches with MJF, Kenny, you know, all those guys, Moxley, Jericho. So if you're asking me, like, how would he have been used? I think, you know, he would have been used in a main event capacity. You know, he would be a former AEW World Champion. Arabian Night, sucks that this is the third shoulder injury for Liv in 2 years. Yeah, I don't know if this is the same shoulder, but she's had some shoulder issues before. This is not the first time. Boots, shout out to Efren, Samuel, Adrian, and 2 or 3 Miguels. Efren, where'd you get that from? Boots says, I was bored last night with no TNT episode 100. I ended up watching General Hospital on Hulu to catch up with my stories. They too need some long-term booking. Lulu Spencer. I deserve to get slapped. By BLQ? General Hospital? That's what you came up with? There was nothing else on Hulu for you to watch? I've been catching up on old episodes of LA Law myself. I never watched LA Law. I'm up to season 4. It's actually pretty good. It's one of those shows, like when I was younger, I knew of it. I had no interest in watching it. So now I've gone back to see what I missed. Uffman Entertainment. 50 months of channel membership. Thank you, Bret Hart, in the chat. Uffman says, 50 meses es miércoles por la noche. Ya saben lo que significa. Me desvío al conducir. Soy el árbol del aprendizaje. Gracias, chicos. Gracias, Uffman. Ed Swoggle with 29 months of membership. How do you tell the difference between a bull and a cow? It's either one or the other. How is a relationship like algebra? You look at your ex and you wonder why. Ed Swoggle coming with the jokes tonight. LA Knight's gimmick change to a cop named LA Law. Our friend GMB is with us. Oba Fatu, Oba Braun, Braun Fatu. Rank your intrigue level. Braun and Fatu intrigues me the most. After that, I would probably go Oba Fatu and then Oba Braun. Ricky Cornflakes, in honor of Graham, he says Graham Slam Mexico. Is this a drug reference of some kind? In honor of Graham Slam Mexico, can you sit on a cactus and eat a snake? No. No, I can't. Bobby's World, have to thank WWE. Been having some stomach issues this past week. They put Goldberg on my TV. And finally, I'm able to evacuate my bowels. I feel much better now. Dog Lover 2122. Hey Solo, ever thought about doing a charity stream? They do gaming streams like that. I have not. I do my charity stuff personally, but it's an idea I would consider. Food Hive, the Beast Mortos says, nah, bitch Mortos. Are you jealous, Food Hive? Are you jealous that he got Mercedes before you did? I detect a little bit of jealousy there. Well, you look at me. You had your chance. She's been single for a little bit, and you had your chance, and you missed it. You know, I mean, you can't be mad at the beast. Shooting his shot, doing his thing. We got Raph with 12 months of membership. Got to spend my 30th birthday today watching AEW with friends. Thank you for a great year of wrestling. Here's to many more. Also, Tony San Diego is amazing. Hey, look, I mean, if she continues to come out there... Oh, by the way, happy birthday, Raph. But if she continues to come out there dressed as Carmen San Diego, then I insist that at All in Texas, they get a cappella to sing her to the ring. It has to happen. If you're going to do it, it has to happen. We got Craig. Hey, Craig, what's going on, Craig? Craig just subscribed. Andres Castillo. $10 super chat. Hola, Solo Monstruo. Always enjoy your reviews. It definitely makes the time at work go fast. With tomorrow being my birthday, I'm wondering if I can get a shout out in your Vincent Russo voice. Te amo, Solo. Happy birthday, bro. Where was the piñata tonight, bro? Not enough piñatas on the show. Remember what he said once? What was the comment he made? Nobody wants, when he watches wrestling, he doesn't want to see, like, any foreign... What was... I forgot the exact quote. Like, I don't want to see foreigners on TV when I don't watch wrestling to see the Lucha Libre guys or the Japanese guys. Give me real graps, bro. Come on, bro. Viagra on a pole, bro. Fucking idiot. Happy birthday, Andres. Food Hive with a $4.99. I've known Atlantis Jr. for 3 hours, and I was in here booing every time I saw him because it was fun. I laughed so hard. Go Away Heat is always funny as fuck. Poor guy. Poor guy's out there. No matter what he did, he was getting booed. That's right, Jersey. If you want to see Lucha Libre, bro, go to Japan, bro. Go to that dome in Tokyo to see a Lucha Libre, bro. Okay, bro? Dark Effect. What's your favorite Western Solo? Maybe A Fistful of Dollars? It says, for me, it's the good, the bad, and the ugly. The whole Fistful of Dollars trilogy is absolutely amazing. There you go. Before we get Brie back on WWE TV, making sure everyone gets their dose of Brie mode. Well, we'll see what happens now, because with the Liv Morgan injury, I said the other night, all they need to do if they were going to do a women's tag team title match is just sub Roxanne in place for Liv. But maybe they had something else planned for Roxanne. That would be the easiest solution. And then you could still do the Bella Twins against the Judgment Day. Lost Dill. Have been binge watching your content, and your Vince Russo impression is the funniest shit ever. Thanks for making work tolerable. Love you, Solo. You're very welcome, bro. This isn't even my best. I don't know what this is. What was that segment I did once? We were talking about Kevin Owens as the son of Adonis. Because remember, he had some kind
Look at Richie Rich over here dropping all this money on me. Hey, I just want you to know, I think you rock. I don't mean The Rock, A-Rock, you rock. And I just wanted you to know that.
Giovanni Zarate dropping the bombs here on the stream. A $100 super chat bomb from Giovanni. Thank you, brother. I'm going to get to you here in a minute. Don't go nowhere. I love seeing those red bombs. Love it. Lost Dill, thank you, brother. Keep binging. There's plenty of content to binge. I was saying, though, it was something that I think Russo said years ago about, I think it was an idea to make Kevin Owens the son of Adrian Adonis. Like the son of Adonis, bro. I did a whole thing on it. It was so ridiculous. I got a great idea, bro. Look, I worked for years for Dixie Carter in TNA, bro. I worked for Dixie in TNA. I saw Jim Cornette. He wanted to kill me. And I told him, bro, it's just wrestling, bro. It's just wrestling. Why does Vince Russo... Now that I'm like thinking about what I just said, why does Vince Russo sound like a Jewish grandpa? Duff's Vids, of all the inventions of the last 100 years, the dry erase board is the most remarkable. Thank you, Duffs. Why did the child put sugar on his pillow? To have sweet dreams. Huh. Very good. Markel World, 46 months of channel membership. Here again. Missed some show through remote. My TV then was crack. So bought new TV just set. I have no idea what you were trying to say there, but I understand your last sentence. Bought new TV, just set it up. I'm glad you have a new TV. I have no idea what the last sentence was supposed to mean. I'm assuming you threw your remote at your TV and it cracked it? Is that what I'm getting out of this? That's what I felt like the other day playing Mario, the new Mario Kart. Don't get me started on that multiplayer mode. Duff's Vids, what has 5 toes and isn't your foot? My foot. Thank you, Duffs. Arabian Night. Path I see for the title is Moxley beats Hanger. MJF wins Casino Gauntlet. Darby beats Moxley in Toronto. MJF cashes in the same night. Darby chases and beats MJF at Revolution. It's not the worst idea outside of Moxley beating Hangman. There's just no universe where I can sit here and tell you I think that's a great idea. Duff's Vids, what goes OOO? Santa walking backwards. I guess he would. I guess that does kind of make sense. Where are we in the likes, by the way? Are we not at 400? Yeah, that's for shame. We don't do Be the Booker tonight. For Grand Slam Mexico. I mean, we were going to do Be the Booker from Arena Mexico tonight. You guys are letting me down. Eminem with a 25. Brie is screaming to Nikki to get her on TV next week. WWE says, I had to agree with LaGreca and Bully about WWE's lazy booking of Goldberg. AEW. Who turns on Moxley first? Claudio, Yuta, Maria, or Pac? Where is Pac? The hell happened? Oh, he got hurt. That's right. I forgot about Pac. With any luck, the Death Riders will be done before Pac even comes back. He says, R.I.P. Finny the Great and Bubbly. Who turns on Moxley first? Probably Yuta, I guess. I mean, who cares? Who even gives a shit? Ray. Mercedes isn't out to help anyone but herself. Camille, for example. This is definitely an ego trip. She's compensating for her WWE run, which wasn't even as bad as people make it out to be. Who says that it was bad? Are there people that say her WWE run was bad? Her WWE run is what made her a star. How is that a bad thing? Dark Effect, I understand that the Beast Mortos won tonight, but do you ever wonder what happened to the Beast Mortos? The guy had all the makings of a champion. I hope he's doing well. See, I thought it was the Beast Mortos. I thought he had some extra toes on his feet. Now you're telling me it was more toast. It's a man of many names. This was Ray's super chat that I read earlier on Mercedes. Thank you again, Ray. I hope you're doing well. Duff's Vids, did you hear about the cold dinner? It was chill.
You suck.
Knew you were going to get at least one. Eminem says after last night's blowout, the Oilers need a pack of Mentos. I'm surprised Tony Khan didn't call WWE to borrow El Grande Americano. A Chad Gable, El Grande versus Hologram match would be awesome for AAA and or CMLL. Well, if you think that there's going to be any sort of mixing between CMLL and AAA, then you have a lot to learn, my friend. But it's true. Like, if these two companies were friendlier with each other and were actually willing to work with each other, El Grande Americano on Dynamite tonight could have been a thing. In like a completely different universe, that might have been a thing. Raph says, shout out Brody King. Great entry shirt. Yeah, when he came out to the ring, he had a shirt. What did it say? Fuck, I didn't write it down. What did it say? Hold on a second. I completely forgot. Let me see here. Now you're gonna make me go remind myself what it said. Oh, abolish ice. Right, that's what it was. When he came out during his entrance for the match. Yes, I completely blanked on what it said. Duff's Vids, why did the blonde get tired from the banana factory? Oh, fired, not tired. Why did the blonde, see, blonde, why did the blonde get fired from the banana factory? Kept throwing away the bent ones. Now, I take offense to that. I take that personally. Tonga Loa superfan, how would Tony Khan book Tonga Loa? Probably not the way that you would want him to, Tonga Loa superfan. I think you would be very disappointed. You would have to start watching Ring of Honor to see Tonga Loa. Blue Jay says, Mi Muero song in Mistico's entrance is goated. It actually is quite good. I may have to add it to my Spotify playlist. Justin G with 27 months of channel membership. Tavish is still waiting for you to finish the story. Thanks, Solomonster. Thanks, mods. Thanks, chat. Yeah, well, Tavish is going to be waiting a little while longer. Fucking Tavish. EJ Slamp, were you a fan of the movie 28 Days Later or its sequel 28 Weeks Later? Are you excited for the new one 28 Years Later? We skipped 28 months later. Believe it or not, as somebody who is into like that genre, I never saw 28 Days Later. And so I never saw any of the sequels. So now might be a good time for me to go back and start from the beginning. Project Libertad, the show was amazing. Reminded me of the Kevin Nash Summer of 1992 incident on the hot, sweltering Summer of Detroit. Ah, yes. The Summer of 92. Is he still doing that joke on his show? There he is, Giovanni Zarate with the $100 super chat. Oh boy. Esta noche fue See, I don't know if he misspelled that. Esta noche fue incredible. I know he didn't write that, but I don't know how else to pronounce that. Gracias por el programa, hermano. It was nice to see Mistico get his moment. When he came back to Mexico, he struggled as Mysticis and Caristico. He only recently was given the Mistico name back from Mistico 2. And shout out to Brody King as well. Yeah, so, I mean, when I mentioned Mistico earlier, it wasn't as if when he initially went back to Mexico, he was exactly right back in the same spot. But, you know, he had to kind of work his way back up to that position again. But you see him, like, you know, coming out on the show tonight and how over he was. You know, he's that guy. Duff's Vids, why do hummingbirds hum? They don't know the words yet. Yeah, that was a good comeback one from the last one. EJ Slemp, it'll never happen, but I wish one day we get Obafemi against Minoru Suzuki. Well, you are correct about one thing. That will never happen. So, which is unfortunate because I do think that could be fun. BCOM see clearly, I love Kevin Knight. That's my boy or baby forever. Big Kevin Knight fan here. Devin from NJ just read that Vince tried to buy a controlling interest in bare knuckle fighting. When's he going to realize that everyone just wants him to go away? When you have billions of dollars, you're never completely going to go away. He can buy whatever he wants as long as he stays the fuck away from WWE. And Boots, who wears the steel plate under their shirt when Braun Breaker goes to deliver the spear? Nobody, because it's already been done twice before. Didn't Ziggler do it to him in NXT? Didn't they already do that spot with Breaker, or am I completely imagining that? Just saw some fan went after MJF at his hotel. I gotta find out about this now. Let me see here if there's any. Let's see. Somebody mentioned that earlier. Oh, wait. Mercedes' first title defense has been announced for CMLL's Fantastica Mania. She will be defending her championship against La Catalina. That'll be on Friday, June 20th. Again, if you think Mercedes is losing before she goes to Texas, I got a bridge I can sell you here in Brooklyn. But I'm seeing this here. I should mention this. So Will Ospreay posted this after Dynamite tonight. It says, I landed in Mexico this morning at 3 o'clock in the morning. Once landed, I had a phone call from my mom telling me my granddad had passed that morning. Extremely close to my granddad, he was a bloody hero to me. Your love and support eased my pain. Thank you so much. So that's very sad to hear. Shout out to Will Ospreay. I'm just trying to see what the deal is with this MJF hotel thing. A fan legitimately went after MJF at the hotel connected to the airport tonight. He is okay and was very proud about the incident. This comes per Sean Ross Sapp. That's exactly the reaction I would expect because he loves getting heat. So, you know, you have people all riled up so much that they actually attack you. course he's going to love that. That's what he lives for. Libido Bell. I'm still trying to figure out why Bronson Reed aligned with Seth Rollins after he took all those...
It's a direction you can fuck.
Great timing. After he took all of those tsunami splashes. What did I miss? You didn't miss anything. He's a very forgiving person. Actually, I think it was Heyman tried to explain, or maybe it was Rollins himself, but they tried to explain it as Rollins is, looking past that because he sees the potential in Reed as part of this vision that he has. And that showed him, what Bronson Reed is really made of. And I don't know. It's all nonsense. It's like they tried to explain it, but of course it's all ridiculous. 6 tsunami splashes tried to end this guy's career. But then again, you could also look at it and say, if somebody had done that to me, that's the kind of person I would want to have by my side, on my side, as opposed to across the ring for me. I would want somebody like that watching my back. And if I have something I could offer him, which in this case was a spot in this group led by Paul Heyman, who basically is Bronson Reed's manager now. He came out to the ring the other night with Bronson Reed. He came out in his corner. So, it's kind of like a mutually beneficial thing. They just didn't do a very good job, I think, of explaining that. Eminem with a pair of super chats here. A 20 and then a 22. Off will be the direction if we don't get double Be the Booker. Well, we are getting Be the Booker. We are at 8 out of 10 on the bonus goal, though. So 2 more 20 and above drops, and we'll hit 10 out of 10. But right now we're 2 behind. But we are going to do Be the Booker here at least 1 round. May as well not put it off any longer. Let's go ahead and do it. It's Be the Booker time, baby.
Ladies and gentlemen,
oh no!
It is now time
There's
to
Kenny
be
Omega.
The Booker.
Look at all that ketchup he has all over his face and his shirt. It's like he dove into a Happy Meal and he ate a little too fast. This is what happens. So ridiculous. It's just so ridiculous. Just looking at the photo is ridiculous. Oh man. This guy. All right, well, we got our 1 round to Be the Booker. Let's make it a good one. Start with tag teams here, shall we? Do you know the name of this team? This is the East-West Connection. This team is so old, this photo's in black and white. Look at this. Jesse Ventura and Adrian Adonis. Before he just let his weight spiral completely out of control. Adrian Adonis used to be kind of a slim guy. But back in the AWA in the Twin Cities, these guys were a good team. They're going to be taking on Hawk and Animal. Talk about the Twin Cities. The Legion of Doom. What a rush. Man, just think about that music. Yeah, I know they used to come out to Iron Man like earlier in their career, but I'm talking like even their WWE music, right? You would hear Hawk, right? What a rush. And then that music would hit. How fucking awesome was that music? Compare that music to some of this Def Rebel shit that we have today. And ask yourself, how could we go from this to what we have now? How is that even possible? It's unbelievable to me how they have allowed their whole music situation to just deteriorate in the way that it has. But that is a definite bell. Kick us off here and Be the Booker. What a rush. Mandy Rose. Man, I wish I could be an announce desk. Said no one ever until just now. Mandy Rose is in Be the Booker. She was the NXT Women's Champion. She had a nice run there, right? Mandy Rose. Man, This is a good night for blondes here. Mandy Rose and Maurice. It's my weak spot. Love me some Maurice. Main event time. Wade is locked. Yeah, Wade Barrett was pretty locked in there in that image. All right, here we go. We're looking for the sweep. Can we do it? Well, now we know why he wasn't in Arena Mexico tonight. Cash Wheeler is in Be the Booker. He missed his wow, he no-showed Grand Slam Mexico to be here in Be the Booker. How about that? Guns up, by the way. Look at this. Cash Wheeler of FTR. Against Roderick Strong. We're this close. We were this close to a sweep. We had a double sweep the other day. We're this close. That's the bad news. The good news is that I noticed we just hit the bonus goal. 10 out of 10. Which means we're getting another round. We get to run it back yet again. I love it when a good plan comes together. We get a second chance at this. We get a second chance. We also get stipulations. That's how this works. Yes, FTR hair. We get stipulations now for the second round. That's how this works. We add some stips. Makes things a little more interesting. A bull rope match. Not terribly interesting, but okay. I'll do it. I'll go along with that. You can't really do a tag team bull rope match, can you? I mean, I guess you can. Yeah, I guess you can. All right, well, we'll do a tag team bull rope match. I don't even know if that's ever been done before. We're going to do it tonight, though. Tag team bull rope with the Samoans, the Head Shrinkers. I guarantee you the Head Shrinkers or Samoan SWAT team in their earlier days never had a bull rope match. I'd bet the farm on that. But they're having one tonight, and they're having one against Bret Hart and Owen Hart. The Samoans against the Canadians in basically a Texas bull rope match. You know, you get a little bit of everything here. You get a little bit of everything. You would have, I mean, how would that even work, though? I mean, if they're attached by the wrist and you tag in and out, how would that even work? I don't know. You'd have to have like multiple straps attached. Somehow they would like intersect. I don't know. I don't fucking know. I like the match though, so I gave it a bell. But yeah, I don't know how that would work. All right, a women's match. Yeah, Bret and Owen can pull it off. I trust that they can pull it off. I mean, it's Bret and Owen. Come on. They can pull anything off. Iron Man match. We're going 60. We're getting a marathon match. Actually, we're getting an Iron Man match with the women. So it would be an Iron Woman or an Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden match, right? Aha, you like that, huh? All right, Iron Maiden match. There you go. We need two women who could go 60 minutes. Two women who would go 60 minutes. Who will it be? Jazz. Jazz has actually done a guest coaching stint recently at the Performance Center, and it went so well that they're going to be having her back. So she's been in the news lately. Jazz is going to be in an Iron Maiden match, and she's going to be taking on angry Beth Phoenix. What do you think about this? 60 minutes of Beth Phoenix and Jazz. Yeah, I don't think I would make it past probably 15. 60s. It's just too much. It's too long. It's too long. It takes a very elite few to make a match that long work. I don't think that that's a good combination. I don't think I've seen a Jazz match in my life longer than 10 minutes. I don't even know if she could go 60 minutes. Main event number 2. The last main event of the night. Oh, my favorite step. A lumberjack match. Oh, joy. We got a lumberjack match. The hell was that? What was that? Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns. We landed on Roman. Roman Reigns is going to be in our main event. Quite appropriate. The Tribal Chief working a rare match. And it'll be a lumberjack match against Big E. It was a Survivor Series main event one year, wasn't it? A few years ago? 2021 maybe? I believe so. All right, so there you go. Roman Reigns and Big E in a lumberjack match. Why don't we pick 3 lumberjacks? Why don't we actually pick them? Pick 3 lumberjacks. I'm not going to pick all of them. We'll pick 3 of them. Why not? Our first lumberjack is Carmelo Hayes. Our second lumberjack is Stone Cold Steve Austin. Boy, quite the discrepancy in star power there. Our third and final lumberjack is the Godfather. What a mix of lumberjacks we have. We go from Carmelo Hayes to Stone Cold Steve Austin to the Godfather outside the ring during Roman Reigns against Big E. And Stone Cold just goes into the ring and just stuns everybody. Drinks beer, pops the crowd, and goes home. That sounds like a good night to me. That works for me. Gets in his ATV, mows down a few people in the front row, and off he goes. All right, we got some final super chats here. BCom see clearly. Said MLK had a dream. AEW versus WWE Supercard of Honor, of Dishonor. Supercard of Dishonor. Eminem, thank you for the 20. Raph, have a good night. Eminem, you're awesome. Thank you. Boots with a 20. Tongaloa for WWE 2K cover. I know one person who would be very happy. He would be first in line to buy the deluxe edition of that. You get different versions of Tongaloa. You get Camacho as well as a playable character. And Havili is with us. Always good to see Havili. Havili says, what up, Solomonster? I meant Mickey and Victoria had heat from a couple of years ago. Yeah, I'm just saying, this is the first I'm hearing of it. I don't know. I don't know what the source of the heat is. If All In was today, what would be the main event? Instead of Moxley against Page, would it be Omega versus Okada or Tony Storm against Mercedes Mone? If it wasn't Moxley and Hangman, I think it would be Omega and Okada. And Drew Peacock. Mercedes will have all the belts come July 12th. I do believe you are correct. Get ready. I'm telling you, she's going to have like one of those little red wagons that she just kind of wheels out to the ring with her to carry all of her belts. Imagine going through the airport with all that. There's no way she well, I guess she would have to though, right? If she's got belts that don't belong to AEW. Why would she even want that? Why would she want to travel with all those belts? Like, what a pain in the ass that would be. Yeah, I certainly would not want to do that. What a gigantic pain in the ass that would be. Maddie says, Solo, she's coming for the belts on your wall. Should I be worried? Should I be concerned about this? EJ Slamp, do you think there's a chance they keep Corey Graves in NXT, move Barrett back to Raw, and maybe put Big E on SmackDown when the idiot punter goes back to game day? I don't. I think Graves getting the spot, though, is probably the most likely option, though. The Thanos of wrestling belts. Feels that way, right? It does feel that way. I got to hide I'm going to have to take those titles off the wall. I don't want her going anywhere near those belts. And I got my white winged eagle as well that you can't see. I got my Solomonster title that was gifted to me. The Solomonster belt. I'm going to have to lock all this up. I don't want her coming after these belts. I don't want the Beast Mortos coming after me. Frank the lawyer. Oh, chili. Did I botch the joke? Tuff's vids. Dude, I thought that said chill. So I botched the joke. Hold on a second. I got to read the joke over again now. Did you hear about the cold dinner? It was chilly. I said chill because that's the L and the I, dude. Like the print on my screen here is so small that the L and the I, they look the same. So I thought that said chill, like your dinner is chill. The same concept though. But apparently he wrote chili and I completely botched the joke. So I have to give you that. I have to give you that. Laser beam security system, Solomonster. Yeah, I'm going to have to go like Ocean's 11 with this shit. Keep her away from my belts. Then she'll like drop in like Tom Cruise or something, you know? End up stealing them anyway. Oh, man. Is the punchline supposed to be Chili's? No, I think he's just saying, well, I don't know. I'm confused now. Frank Stallone. Be funny if that ended up being the Beast's actual name. Do I like beans on my chili? I don't eat chili. So, as a matter of fact, I had one of my I got a perk. I got a perk from YouTube for being a content creator. I got a $15 Chipotle discount. Oh boy. And I don't eat Chipotle. I haven't had Chipotle in a few years, but there's a Chipotle not too far from me. So I said, okay, I'm going to take my $15 Chipotle discount here. I'm going to pop on their website. I'm going to check out the menu and see what they have. This shit's expensive, but they have burritos and they have bowls. So I did a bowl. And they let you pick the meats and they let you pick the veggies and they let you pick the beans and the rice. And I said, no beans. I don't want beans. So I left the beans out and I got chicken, white rice, and the fajita veggies. And that's it. Nothing else. And it was quite good. It was quite good. I think I used 13 of the $15 that I had as my... So now I have $2 left, which won't buy me anything. So, but thank you, YouTube. That's very kind of you. Whatever. I got a free $12 lunch. I can't complain. Be calm, see clearly. Tony will show why she's timeless at All In. And we have a super chat here from Buster Cherry 23. When is Mercedes winning the speed title? Well, the speed title is currently held by El Grande Americano. So if she wants to win the speed title, she's going to have to beat El Grande for it. You know, actually, El Grande Americano against Mercedes would probably be a hell of a match. Linklex. Athena got more national TV time in WWE's catering and 24/7 title chase crew than as the Ring of Honor Forever Champion. It's true. It's very sad. Very sad. Oh, Sol Ruka. Oh, I forgot they have a women's speed title. She was talking about Sol Ruka. I'm thinking El Grande Americano here. That's right. They have a women's speed title as well. Sol Ruka is the women's speed champion. And that would be a great match. Mercedes and Sol would be a great match. I personally would love to see Mercedes against El Grande Americano, though. But yes, I forgot that there's two of everything. You have to have two of everything now in WWE. So there's a men's speed title and there's got to be a women's speed title. And the women's speed title belongs to Sol Ruka. So thank you for reminding me. Yes, apparently this is news to some people in the chat. There is a women's speed title. See, now you know. If you didn't know, now you know. Got to have two of everything. They could have called the women's speed title the heroin title. Yeah, very good. Johnny Bowser over here with the jokes. Mercedes beats Grande with help from Mortos. Look at this. We're booking the territory here. Why is there a speed title at all? Because Elon Musk is giving WWE a lot of money, apparently, to do a stupid show on Twitter. So it's TKO. Yeah, I mean, they're going to take the money. You know that. All about that social media engagement. When is Mercedes winning the Regina D Wave Championship? Oh my God, I forgot all about that. The Regina D Wave Championship. I forgot all about that. AEW had too many belts. WWE said, hold my beer. Yeah, it's an issue with both companies. It's not just an AEW issue or a WWE issue. There are a lot of belts. And the more belts you have, the less they mean. That's just the way it goes. Anyway, the next time I am live with you will be on Friday night for SmackDown. We are winding down with some of these King and Queen of the Ring matches, so... And John Cena is wrestling on SmackDown. He's wrestling R-Truth. This could be the last. It will be one of the last, if not possibly the last time that we see John Cena in the ring in a match on SmackDown. We're actually seeing more in-ring action from John Cena on SmackDown than we see from Roman Reigns. So he'll be wrestling Ron Killings on Friday night. So should be interesting. Join me live then for the post-show. Mercedes ain't ready for Bonesaw. Bonesaw McGraw? I'm going to protect my belts. Especially my winged eagle on the white strap. I mean, that one there that you see behind me is pretty cool, but I showed you guys once. The big boy. I'm going to put that under a lock and key in a case so she can't get to it. CMLL has 30 belts. I don't believe you. I think you're lying. Anyway, be well. Stay safe. Buenas noches. Have yourself a good night. And I will see you back here on Friday night for the SmackDown post show live right here on YouTube. Until then, take care, guys. Adios.